Hey there, it's Daisy, and I'm back here coding once again. Trying my best, doing what I can. Today's probably not going to be a whole lot of coding, but instead, like, reading about stuff. And as usual, I'm up much later than I ought to be, but that's fine. Right now we can, I'm not going to keep stressing too much about fixing my sleep schedule. I'm more stressed about getting some progress with all this. We're back on Free Code Camp. It is 4:17 a.m. I'm going to go to bed before the sun comes up, which might be around 6 a.m. I should start heading to bed around like 5 or something though. But, the past few times that I've been doing this, I've been like basically like falling asleep while streaming. It has not gone great. I mean, I've been productive, but not as much as I could be. But this time I have not yet taken any melatonin, so that could be it. That could be what's making me sleepy. And I drank a bunch of green tea. I had like a couple cups of green tea, I think, maybe 2 or 3. But I've got a third cup right here. Yeah, I think I had 2 cups earlier, and I've got some green tea right here. See, listen. Yeah, that's lovely. Does that sound good? Sounds like a nice, healthy sip of green tea. Maybe that'll keep me up without like completely frying my brain like coffee. But at least it'll make me awake enough to do something. There's stuff where I'm reading, and there's like Python stuff I gotta read, some lessons. That's all just like reading things, and then there's a workshop to do. Look at this quote here: "Tough times last, but tough times never last, but tough people do." I don't know who Dr. Robert Schuller is, but I like that. I just thought about I could program something that, I mean, not right now, but it probably wouldn't be too tough to program something into your website that just takes from a list of different quotes and shows you a random one every time. That'd be a fun thing to program. Nice and simple, but legitimately useful. I could like find a bunch of cool quotes and put them in a quote randomizer, a daily quote thingy. Anyway, Python certification. Loops and sequences. So I read about how lists and how they work. I was like half asleep reading that. Actually, I'm just going to skim it really quick. Yeah. Alright. Oh yeah. So you can take a string and say list and put the variable in there and it'll turn it into that. Let's see, len. Oh yeah, you can, this replaced Python. So they took JavaScript and replaced Python by putting it like that. So that's one thing I should keep in mind. This, whatchamadinger, a traceback error, an index error. No, I thought I was gonna yawn, but it didn't. It was like a sneeze that didn't happen. I like sort of started yawning, but didn't. Del. Okay, so the del thing, once you delete, you just gotta put the index there. The in keyword. You can nest a list in another list. That's completely news to me. And then here it just, you access it using the same index thingy. And then if you do that twice, you can access the specific list. You can grab the specific item out of the list within the list. Oh, and you can do this. name age job equals developer. And this one I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I'll figure it out eventually. Okay, now I actually yawned. I think it is just like Pavlovian. I literally, every single time it's exactly the same. I don't feel like yawning until the moment I get on stream. Either it's just the act of like studying something makes me tired, or it's literally like I've just accustomed myself to like doing coding and then going to bed right afterwards. So it's like it tells my brain and body it's time to sleep. It's like getting into pajamas. Because this time I haven't taken any melatonin, and I'm drinking a bunch of caffeine. Not like a ton, but it's green tea. That's several cups of green tea. I'm gonna sip my tea very loudly, so that you know why I'm not talking. Because I'm in the middle of slurping some tea. As one does. Alright, okay, so unpacking values from a list is a technique. Oh yeah, this is unpacking. Okay. So unpacking is when you do this. Yeah, okay, whatever. I'll look back at this if I need it. There's a whole lot of stuff to read about, and I'm not going to be able to remember. Rust. Oh, okay. If you need to collect remaining elements from a list, you can use the asterisk operator like this. Name, and then rest. That's just the variable they gave it, but you use this asterisk as the operator. Oh. Alright, and that's too many things, so it's a value error. Expected 4, got 3. And then this thing. Yeah, we know about this. Just the step interval. Yeah, 1 blank 2 2 4 6. Okay. What are the following is true about lists? They are zero-based index. They're rarely used in Python programs. That's not true. Which is the correct way to access the second one is cities 1. The second element from the end is -2. Yep, we got it. Okay, what are some common methods used for lists? In the previous lesson, you were introduced to the list data type and learned how to access elements from a list as well as list slicing. In this lesson, you will continue to learn about lists and some common methods associated with them, like append, pop, and sort. I love green tea. I like all sorts of tea. I'm a big tea fan. And coffee. I like tea and coffee. Although I guess tea first and foremost. Coffee's not that far off, though. It's more flavorful, but it's not as... I don't know, it doesn't hit the same. But damn, does it hit. Anyway, I'm so distractible. It's a double-edged sword. Like, talking into a mic makes it so this is, like, a lot easier. But whenever I basically procrastinate by just rambling on instead of actually reading and doing what I'm supposed to do. Alright, you were introduced to list data type, learned how to access and list slicing. In this lesson, you will continue to learn about lists and some common methods, like append, pop, and sort. The first method we will look at is the append method. This is used to add an item to the end of the list. Here is an example of using the append method to add the number 6 to the list of numbers. Numbers append. Okay. Alright. If you want to add one list at the end of another, you can also use the append method like this. Oh, it just puts it in. I thought it meant like it would add it on, but it literally injects it right inside the vein. Notice how the entire even numbers list is nested inside it. I always do that. Like I mentioned something and then it says exactly. That means I'm doing it right though. I'm noticing exactly what they intended for me to notice. If you want to add all of the individual numbers from the even numbers list at the end of the numbers list, then you can use the extend method. Okay, so, I see. The extend method is similar to the append method, but with extend you can add multiple elements from one list to another. Here's an example of adding the numbers 6, 8, and 10, to the end of the numbers list. As you can see, the nested list is gone and it's just a list of numbers. To insert an element at a specific index in a list, you can use the insert method. This method accepts two arguments, the index where you wish to insert the new item and the item you want to insert. What? To insert an element at a specific index in a list. And my brain wasn't reading, just my mouth was, and my eyes. To insert an element at a specific index in a list, you can use the insert method. This method accepts two arguments, the index where you wish to insert the new item, and the item you want to insert. Here's an example of using the insert method. So, it wouldn't put it in it. Okay, makes it the third item. The following code will insert the number 2.5 at index 2 in the numbers list. Oh boy. If you want to remove an element from a list, you can use the remove method. Remove takes the value of an element to remove as an argument. Oh, I see. That's interesting. So you don't put the index in, you put the specific thing you want removed. I mean, that sounds more simple than trying to figure out the index. Okay. It's important to note that this method will only remove the first occurrence of an item, not all of them. Oh, so whichever one shows up first. To remove an element at a specific index in the list, you can use the pop method like this. Oh, but it returns to. If you don't specify an element for the pop method, then the last element is removed. Interesting. It says it's returned though, so it's not just like removed. Like if I say numbers pop 1, if I say numbers pop 1 equals something, then that variable will have the return value stored. So 2 will be stored in a variable. I think. That's what I mean. That's what I'm guessing they mean by returned. Alright, if you need to empty the list, then you can use the clear method like this. Clear. So it just makes the list empty. I mean, that might be useful for a number of things. The next method we'll take out is the sort method. Take a look at. This method is used to sort the elements in place. Here's an example of sorting a random list of numbers in place. Okay. In contrast to the sort method, there's the sorted function, which works for any iterable and returns a new sorted list instead of modifying the original list, for example. Oh yeah. Okay, so this one where it's something dot something, that's a method, the sort method. But this is the sorted function, which isn't a method. Instead, you do it like this, and you put the list in parentheses. Sorted numbers equals sorted numbers. Very interesting. As a reminder, an iterable is a special type of object that you can loop over, allowing you to access each item one at a time. You'll learn more about how loops work in Python in a future lesson. Both the sort method and sorted function accept optional key and reverse parameters. Huh? Key and reverse parameters. You'll learn about these optional parameters in a future lesson when you learn about tuples. You'll also learn more about other... Where was I? I looked away while reading, which is not ideal for when that's what I'm supposed to be doing, is reading. I just wanted to make sure there's no one in my chat, which there's not. That's kind of funny. I'm just going to have this weird faded box in like all of these videos with nothing showing up. Anyway. Reverse a list of elements. Okay, that's a method. Oh, it says it right there. The last method we'll take a look at is the index method. This is used to find the first index where an element can be found in a list. Here's an example of using the index method to find a language Java in the programming languages list. And yeah, there it is. 0 is Rust, 1 is Java. The element cannot be found, and Python throws a value error. Oh, there are a few more methods for Python list, but this initial list of methods is a good place to start. Which one of the following examples will correctly insert the number 2.5 at 2? Insert into is not true. I think it's this one. Numbers.insert 2.5 at index 2. I'm gonna check really quick. Yeah, 2.5. Oh, shoot. Yeah, never mind, I got it wrong. Okay, so first it's the index you want to put it in, and then it's the number you want to put there. Which of the following methods will reverse the list of elements in place? Reverse. Which of the following is not a list method? See, append is a method. Pop is a method. Clear and splice. Well, no. Okay, yeah, it's not splice, because you do splicing using a certain syntax, but you don't literally... Yeah. Alright, we only got like 7 or 8 more of these to go. And then I can do that workshop, and then yeah, it's 4:33. I gotta be quick. I don't want to stay up too much past 5. What are tuples and how do they work? Tuple is a Python data type used to create an ordered sequence of values. Tuples can contain a mixed set of data types like this. Tuples are similar to lists, but while lists are a mutable data type, tuples are immutable. This means the elements in a tuple cannot be changed once it's created. If you try to, you'll get a type error. To access an element from a tuple, you can use bracket notation and the index number. Okay, that's not unlike lists. If you need to access elements starting from the end of a tuple, then you can use negative indexing. Here's an example of negative indexing. Okay. Yeah, we've seen that. If you try to pass an index number that exceeds or equals the length of the tuple, you'll receive an index error like this. Another way to create a tuple is by using the tuple constructor. Oh, okay, that's also like list. Right? Yeah, list was the same. You literally, it's a constructor. Is a constructor the same thing as a, what was it called? Function? I mean, because this looks like a function, but they're calling it a constructor. I don't know. For the tuple constructor, you can pass in different iterables like strings, lists, and even to other tuples. To check if an item is in a tuple, you can use the in keyword like this. This is like all the same stuff as the list, except you can't like splice or pop. In fact, the scroll bar is telling me that this is a slightly shorter page. Oh, the tuple constructor, you can do it with all sorts of iterables. You can do it with another tuple or a list string. Okay. Use in. Rust in programming languages, JavaScript defaults. You can also unpack items from a tuple just like you did with lists. Not sure I know what that means. Oh wait, I forgot. Yeah, this one was confusing for me too with the lists. It's the same thing though, I guess. So you can unpack, you can't change it, but you can get all sorts of stuff out of the tuple. Okay, in this example, name has the value Alicia, Alice. Alice. Age has the value 34, and job has the value Rust developer. So it assigns, it just makes 3 variables and assigns them these values. If you need to collect any remaining elements from a tuple, you can use the asterisk operator like this. And it makes them a list. Here, the name has the value Alice, and the rest is a list comprised of the number 34 and Rust developer. Just like with the list, you use the slice operator on the tuple to extract. Oh, so you can slice it, but it doesn't change anything about it. I guess that wasn't always how it worked with lists either. Sometimes you grab stuff from a list, but you don't change the list at all. Remember that the first number represents the starting index for the extraction, while the second number represents the ending index. But note that the item in the ending is not included in the extracted tuple. Okay. If you need to remove an item from a tuple, that isn't possible because tuples are immutable. So in this example, will produce an error. Oh, just because the del keyword just probably doesn't work at all. Is that called a keyword? I don't know. So when you might use a tuple over a list. If you need a dynamic collection of elements where you can add, remove, and update elements, then you should use a list. If you know that you are working with a fixed and immutable collection of data, then you should use a tuple. I believe tuples take less data, and if you intend for them not to be changed, then if it's a tuple, you won't accidentally do something that changes it. So tuples are, I guess, slightly, they're on the safer side and the slightly more efficient side. In the next lesson, we will take a look at some common methods you will use when working with tuples. What will the output? What will be the output to the console? Print developer will be 34. What will be the result for the following code? They did exactly this one. That's 0 and that's 3. And it doesn't include 3, so it would be pi cookies. What will be the result for the following code? You will get a type error or an index error. I believe index error, because I don't see why it would be a type error. It's not really the data type, it's just... Oh, it is a type error. I bet it's a type error because it's like, hey, this is a tuple, so it's like that's about the type of data. I was thinking index error because you're literally doing something with the index there, but I guess type error makes more sense. Yep. All right, 33%. We are 1/3 of the way there. Huh. I didn't even realize these ads made sound. Was that because I didn't have the guitar on before, the campfire mode, and now I do, so I think that's somehow related to it. If I had to guess. Or I'm crazy and they were playing the sound before and I just never paid enough attention. I'm not really sure. Anyway, what are some common methods for tuples? We learn how to work with the tuple data type. In this lesson, you'll learn about common methods you'll use when working with tuples. Jeez, these videos are just going to be me yawning over and over and over. I guess it's not much better that I keep complaining about it. Alright. First method we'll cover is count. This method is used to determine how many times an item appears in a tuple. Here's an example of checking how many times the string Rust appears in a tuple name programming language. Oh, Nelly. Okay, it's 4:40. I still got plenty of time. Kind of. Alright, Rust, Java, Python, C++, Rust. It's stressful. Man, it's not... Like, I do want to keep going. Like, I don't... I'm not having trouble. I'm just having trouble keeping my eyes open. And when I'm sleepy, my brain, like, can't read properly. I mean, this is just my fault for staying up late. I gotta stop doing this. I gotta start getting on this earlier. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, hold on, let me look at the whole shebang here. I'm on this. Wait, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I thought there was 9 because I was doing by like 11% every time. I mean, it's a huge bummer that I'm like, this whole entire like part is just like literally one workshop and then one lab and then just a review and quiz. I could finish it tomorrow if I actually do what I'm supposed to and like show up on time. Oh, wait, maybe I should go like splash cold water on my face or something. I'm just gonna try to will my way through it and have some more tea. Okay, that was not a great idea. Oy. Yeah, drinking by inhaling is not ideal. That's not the way Wait, it's not the way the good Lord intended. Okay. That kind of woke me up. One sec. Okay. So it counts, rust appears twice, so since it appears twice, count returns 2. This specified count is not in it, and it says 0, so JavaScript is 0. I think it's funny that they keep using this example. Okay, so it's a method. A dot. If no arguments are passed into the count function, the Python raises a type error. Okay. Next method we'll look at is index. This is used to find the index where a particular item is present in the tuple. Here's an example of using the index method to find the index for the string Java. Index Java says 1. Okay. If it can't be found, Python raises a value error. Okay, so that's value error. This is a type error. This is a type error. I need to pay more attention to these. So type error is because it needs to give it an argument and it doesn't. Whereas this value error is just because it's not there. I can't really tell the difference. Another thing you can do with the index method is pass in an optional start and stop index arguments. What? Python 3. Wait a sec. An optional start index? Oh. So I guess this means it starts at 3, so that's 0, 1, 2. Starts here at 3 and then says that it's in index 5. That's why it returns 5. In this example, we are specifying where to start searching for the string Python by passing the number 3 as the second argument to the index function. We are specifying to start searching the index at 3 since Python appears twice in the tuple. The index function will return 5 instead of 2 because they use the optional start index argument. I must have missed the part where they said that it stops at the first one it finds. Or maybe they never mentioned that. Okay. Oh, an optional stop index. Here is a modified example of specifying start and stop index. Now the result is index 2 because we are starting to search at index 2 and searching up to, but not including 5. Oh, so it started a little earlier, but then also doesn't say that. Would it return multiple things if it appeared multiple times? Wait, what? So in this case, even though it says Python, hold on. Yeah, see, they made it longer, so it's confusing. But yeah, so it stops at 5, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it doesn't grab either of those because it stopped right before. Another commonly used function used with tuples. I mean, that's silly wording, but it makes sense. Another commonly used function used with tuples is the sorted function. In the previous lesson, you learned about the sort method for lists. Well, the sorted function can be used on any iterable, including tuples. Oh yeah, because unlike sort, which tries to sort the tuple and can't because it's mutable, sorted is a function rather than a method, and it just creates a separate, it returns a different value, so it can be used to create a separate variable. Here's an example of creating a new list of numbers using the sorted function. The sorted function will always create a new list of the sorted values. This differs from the sort method, which sorts the element of a list in place and does not return a new list. So just the variable just gets changed in the case, or the value gets changed. In this case, the value is the list, and the list gets changed. If you need to customize the sorting behavior for an iterable, you can use the optional reverse and key arguments. Here's an example of key argument used to sort items into tuple by length. Sorted, just key equals len. No, it goes by the length. And then barring that, if they're the same length, it just puts them in the order they were in. Rust, Java, Rust. Yeah, instead of going by alphabetical or something. If you wanted to create a new list of values in reverse order. Oh, my throat still feels funny from all that. From inhaling tea. I need more tea. Okay. The reverse argument. In this case, you'd say reverse equals true. So this is key equals len. You're giving it the key argument. And then you're sorting them by length. In this case, you're giving them the reverse argument. But you're saying it's true. Tuples are common data type in Python. Understanding how you work with them along with some helpful methods and functions will help you write more efficient code. What will the following code return? Count Rust. I guess it'll say 2. What will be the result for the following code? Index. An error, right? I guess in this case a value error. I think it said that earlier. Index value error, yeah. I think I used that same example too. Which of the following functions? I think these questions are really just to make sure I'm not skimming through this too much. I'm absorbing what I need to. Which of the following functions is used to return a new list of sorted results from an iterable? Sorted. That's a function. Heck yeah. Just like 6 more to go. Wait, that can't be right. Right? That can't be right. 5 more to go. Oh geez, it's 4:50. Okay. Let's get going. As you learned in earlier modules, loops are used to repeat a block of code for a set number of times. And hold on, let me look at this again. Gonna click this just to see how complex this is. Oh boy. Yeah, okay, I definitely can't do this tonight. I'm just gonna read everything I can, and that'll be good, because then I'll go to bed and like see if I can recall everything I learned by doing that lab, and then by doing the workshop, and then I can just do the lab right after. Yeah, okay. Tomorrow I gotta put the pedal to the metal. Loops are used to repeat a block of code for a set number of times. In this lesson you learn how to work with different types of loops in Python. The for loop is an example of a for loop to iterate through a list and print each item to the for language in programming languages. Print language. This confused the crap out of me when I first learned about loops. Just the fact that you just make up an iterative variable like right away, because they would usually like phrase it kind of like this. Well, even worse, they would be like for word in words, for number in numbers. Like the list would be called numbers, and then they'd be like for number in numbers. And so I thought it like had something to do with, like, I didn't realize they were just coming up with the iterative variable like on the spot. I was like, did I miss something? They just did the singular version of You get what I'm saying? Like, imagine if this was just called languages with no language, with no programming. That's basically what I saw. It was like 4 language in languages, and I'd be like, who decided language was a thing? Anyway, I digress. I'm not even really digressing, I'm just rambling. Digression implies that I've tipped off into another subject, which I haven't done. I'm just making noise, really. And procrastinating. Alright, the result will be... Notice that the print language is indented. Inside a loop. Without that indentation, you would get an indentation error. Cool. You can also use a for loop to iterate. Let me see how long this is. Oh, Nelly. It could be worse. Yeah, these little code block bits make it look longer than it is. Okay, you can use the indentation error. You can also use a for loop to iterate through other iterables like a string. Here's an example of using a for loop to loop through the string code and print out each character. For car in code, print car. Oh. Okay. Yeah, so a string is an iterable, so it just works in that same way. Just like in JavaScript, you can also nest for loops in Python. I don't know JavaScript. Here's an example of using a nested for loop. For category in categories. For food in foods, print category food. The outer loop will iterate through each category in the categories list. For each category, the inner loop will iterate through each food in the foods list. Here's the result that we print to the console. Fruit. Okay, and it'll say apple, carrot, banana. It'll be vegetable, apple, carrot, banana. I don't know why I bothered just reading that out. That's basically all I did. Another type. Good grief. I'm fighting off the sleepiness. I'm kind of doing okay. Okay. Another type of loop you can use in Python is the while loop. This type of loop will repeat a block of code until the condition is false. Here's an example of using a while loop. For a guessing game, secret number 3, guess equals 0. While guess is not secret number, guess equals int. The input, guess the number 1 through 5. Oh yeah, and then when the user puts in that input, it returns as a string, even if they do a number. So you have to turn it into an integer. If guess does not equal secret number, print wrong, try again. Print, you got it. I wonder why that's not a, like, else. Wouldn't that work as an else? Maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like they could have put an else here and said print, you got it. In this example, we have a secret number variable with the value of 3 and an initial guess of 0. Then we use the input function to get input from the user. What? Input to get input from the user, then convert the input string to an integer, and then assign it to the guess variable. If the user guesses correctly by inputting 3, wow, the while loop is broken out of in the message, you got it. Oh, so it's just because it breaks it. You break out of the while loop. So you don't really need an else. Oh, wait, yeah, because the condition, you used a conditional and said while guess does not equal secret number. And then it's like if is another conditional, but it's the same one. If guess does not equal secret number, print wrong, try again. So the moment it is, this whole while thing just stops working. It works infinitely as long as your guess is not the secret number. When it breaks out, it does this, which is not indented because it's after the while loop. Otherwise, the message wrong, try again is printed, and the loop repeats, prompting them to guess again. Here's an example. Okay, just like in JavaScript, Python supports the break and continue statements. I don't know JavaScript, but I'm pretty sure with these tutorials I was supposed to do the JavaScript certification course before this. But that's fine. So far it hasn't been an issue that I only know Python. Hopefully I can just get through this whole thing only using Python. And then maybe after doing like a deep enough dive into Python, I might go back and do the other, I'll do like the responsive web design and the JavaScript and stuff. It'll be fun. The break statement is used to stop the execution of a loop. Here's an example of using the break statement for a list of developer names. If developer equals Naomi, break, print developer. In this example, we iterate through a list of developer names and print each name to the console. If the name is equal to Naomi, we break out a loop. This results in only the name Jess being printed. Oh. Wait, so it says if developer, so for developer and developer names, it's basically, he goes over this and then it just doesn't care. So it prints developer, so it'll print Jess, and then but then when it is Naomi, the whole thing just breaks. So Naomi's name doesn't get printed, and neither does Tom's. The continue statement is used to skip the current iteration of a loop and move on to the next iteration. Let's modify the example from earlier and use the continue statement instead of break. Now the result will be different. The names Jess and Tom are printed because the continue statement skips the second iteration of the loop when the developer is equal to Naomi and does not print that name. Okay. So both for and while loops can be combined with an else clause, which is executed only when the loop is not terminated by a break statement. Here's an example of using multiple for loops. Word sky, apple, rhythm, fly, orange. For word in words, for letter in word. If letter lower in A, E, I, O, U, O, A, U. John Madden. If letter lower in A, I, O, U, A, I, O, print F, word contains the value letter, the vowel letter. Wait, so if letter lower in ow. Oh, okay. So these strings are all iterables. So for word in words, you can then do another thing and say for letter in word, and it'll automatically iterate through each letter. If it contains a vowel, for if letter lower in and the lower is because everything's case sensitive. Print F, word contains a value letter. F strings are really useful. I like them. Else print F, word has no vowels. Okay. Wait, and also, oh, okay, contains the vowel letter, so it uses the letter which is like the iterable. Okay, in this example, we have a list of random words, and a for loop is used to loop through each word. Inside the outer for loop, we have another for loop to loop through each letter of each word. If the lowercase version is a vowel, we print the word followed by what vowel it contains. Then we break out of the loop. If the word contains no vowels, then we print a message indicating that. Here's what the result looks like in the console. Sky has no vowels. Apple contains vowel A. Rhythm has no vowels. Okay. Cool. Oh, and yeah, it breaks out, so it doesn't talk about the A in it. And this one doesn't talk about the E in Apple. Just uses the first one. That makes sense. Okay, loops are very common. It's important to get comfortable with them. In the next few lessons, you'll learn how to work with enumerate and range functions in loops. Oh boy. Okay, what will this print to the console? I am excited to find out. For language and programming languages, print language. So it'll just print all four of them out. Rust, Java, Python, C++. Which of the following loops is used to repeat a block of code until a condition is false? While. Unless it's continue, but I think it's while. Which of the following is used to stop the execution of a loop? Break. Halt. I wish it was halt. That's awesome. Okay. We're doing great. What are ranges and how can you use them in a loop? The range function is used to generate a sequence of integers. Here's the basic syntax for the range function. Range, start, stop, and step. The required stop argument is an integer that represents the endpoint for the sequence of numbers being generated. Here's an example of the range function. For num in range 3. Range just makes it. Okay, the following code generates a sequence of numbers between 0 and 2. The integer 3 is not included because it's non-inclusive. It's not included because the stop argument is non-inclusive. It doesn't do that because it doesn't do that. It does. That's a perfectly useful statement, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it does sound funny. It doesn't work because it doesn't work. But that's good to know, actually. Unironically. If a start argument is not specified, then the default is 0. Otherwise, you can have the optional start argument to start at the sequence of integers. Hold on, I need tea. I like to drink my tea very loudly. Okay, if the start argument is not specified, the default start is 0. Otherwise, you can use the optional start argument to start the sequence of integers at a integer other than 0. That's at a integer other than 0. That's a bit of a mistake, I think. Here's an example of generating a sequence of integers between 1 and 4. By default, the sequence of integers will increment by 1, but if you want to change that, you can use the optional step argument. There's always a step argument. Okay. Here's an example of generating a sequence of even integers between 2 and 10. Man, my brain shut off. Here's an example of generating a sequence of integers between 2 and 10. 2, 11, 2. As mentioned earlier, there's only one required argument for the range function. If you don't provide any arguments to range, you'll get a type error. It's important to note that the range function only accepts integers as arguments, not floats. Remember that floats are numbers with decimal points. If you try to pass floats, you'll also get a type error. If you want to generate a sequence of integers in decrementing order. Decrementing. Interesting. I knew decrement was a word, but decrementing order instead of descending order. I wonder, I guess, yeah, it's not, because rather than descending order, it's like incremental and descending. So it's decrementing. It's incrementally descending order. Decrementing order. I don't know if I've ever even seen that word. Probably have, but that just sounds bizarre. If you want to generate a sequence of integers in decrementing order, you can use a negative integer for the step argument. Okay, 40, 30, 20, 10, in that order to the console. Another thing you can do with the range function is create a list of integers by using it with the list constructor. The list constructor is used to convert an iterable into a list. Here's an example of generating a list of even integers between 2 and 10. Okay. Oh, so you just use list constructor. Oh, and a range is iterable by its very nature, so that makes sense. It's 5:05 a.m. I gotta get to bed soon. The range function is a very handy way to generate a sequence of integers in Python. Once you get the hang of it, you'll probably find yourself using it a lot in your Python programs. Sorry, oh man, I gotta sleep. I don't know if I can keep doing this. I'm still reading, I'm just fine. I'm able to get through it, but I'm like so fried. I'm so cooked. I'm so So scatterbrained. Or foggy brained. Brain fogged. What is the range function used for? To generate a sequence of integers. It just makes a bunch of integers, basically. Which of the following is the only required argument needed for the range function? Start. Which of the following errors will be returned from the following code? I believe it's a index error. Let's check that. Type error. Oh boy. What? Was the only one needed? It's not the stop, right? Is it just the index? Can't be. Oh my gosh. I'm just gonna look it up. I'm not just gonna guess. I gotta find it. Alright. Oh, right. Yeah, it needs the place where it stops at. That makes sense, actually. It didn't really make sense in my head, but now that makes perfect sense. Yeah, 67. Okay, we got like... Wait, okay, let's see. 3 more. How long is this? This one's shorter. What about this? Kind of short. Lambda functions. Okay, these last 3 are kind of short, so maybe I can make it through. Alright. Enumerate and zip functions I've never heard of. At least I don't think so. Okay, for is used to repeat a block of a code a set number of times. Here's a for loop for each. Oh, goodness. Okay. Previous lessons you learned how to work with the for loop, which is used to repeat a block of code a set number of times. I'm so tired, but I just... I wouldn't feel productive if I didn't just finish these last 3 things. Okay, for loop repeats a block of code. Here's an example of for loop to print each language from the languages list to the console. We have some tea. Okay, for language in languages, print language. But what if you wanted to keep track of the index for each element? Well, one option is create the index variable and increment it for 1 for each iteration of the loop, like this, index equals 0. And then make an add with an enhanced assignment, augmented assignment operator. While that works, an easier way to do it is by using the enumerate function. Enumerate keeps track of the index for an iterable and returns an enumerate object. If we pass the languages list to the enumerate function and convert its returned value into a list, with the list function it looks like this. List enumerate languages. Oh. So it makes a list, but with a number for everything. Each entry in the enumerate object, now a list, is a tuple. Wait, each entry, oh yeah, it's a list, but a bunch of tuples are in the list. Here, a tuple containing a count followed by a value from the iterable passed to the enumerate function. Now let's refactor the example from earlier to use the enumerate function. Alright, sure. For index, comma, language in enumerate languages. Oh, right. So you would say for and then use 2 different variables. Let's say print f index and language. Index and language. Yeah, we unpack the count and value for each tuple in the enumerate object into variables named index and language respectively. respectively. Finally, both those variables are used in an F string that is printed onto the console in each iteration of the loop. Index 0 and language Spanish. Okay, they're used in an F string that's printed to the console in each iteration of the loop. Okay, I think that makes sense. This removes the need for manually creating and updating an index variable. I like to take shortcuts to not manually create variables. That's always good. The enumerate function also accepts an optional start argument that specifies the starting value for the count. Oh, yeah, I'm tired. If this argument is omitted, then the count will begin at 0. Here is an example of using the optional start argument. Index language and enumerate language is 1. So it just starts. Wait, what? Wait a second. Wouldn't it normally start at 0? So when you index this, it says 0 is 1, and then 1, and then 2, and then 3. Oh, I see. So this only affects the index. So if you enumerate and have it start somewhere, the numbers, so this one's 0, 1, 2, 3, whereas this one's 1, 2, 3, 4, but otherwise the same. So far we've only been iterating over one list, but what if you need to iterate over multiple lists to iterables in parallel? Oh boy. Well, you can use the zip function for that, which combines a list into pairs of elements and returns an iterator of tuples. Man, I'm so tired. I'm just gonna drink the rest of my tea really quick. Yeah, chugging my tea was probably not a great idea because I don't think that caffeine's gonna hit me right away. It's gonna affect my sleep. But that's fine. No, it's not fine, but I'll be sure to, I don't know, take a melatonin. Okay. Yeah, I might just call it after I finish this last bit. Because, like, what's after this? This is... Yeah, enumerator. Yeah, there's just a couple things after that. So I can just do those tomorrow before doing the lab. Dario. Like Dario Brando. So far we've only been iterating over one list, but what if you need to iterate over multiple parallel? You zip and returns a pair of... Ugh. Okay. Sorry, I was slapping my face. I was slapping myself silly. Slapping myself less silly. Trying to slap myself awake. Oh boy. Okay. So zip is multiple iterables in parallel, which combines a list into a pair of elements and returns an iterator of tuples. Combines list into pairs of elements and returns an iterator of tuples. Okay, I gotta call it. I'm like, my brain, I like can't even understand what I'm reading right now. I'm way too tired for this. I'm so close to the end. But this is This is the part that's actually new stuff I don't understand, so I think it's a good idea to reread this. Yeah. Okay. So, I'll see you guys. Be not afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and others have greatness thrust upon them. William Shakespeare. Anyway, I will catch you guys on the flippity dip. I have to freaking sleep. I don't know. I've been at this for like an hour though, so I feel like, I guess I was productive, because if I ended up having to do this another day, or even if I did it yesterday, it still would have taken like an hour to do it. Maybe less time, because I would have been less tired, which is another indicator that I need to just get better sleep and start sooner. But yeah, I feel like this was productive, even if I had to stop short. Yeah, I gotta sleep better. I'll be seeing you guys. So long. Off to dreamland I go. Bye bye.